Welcome to another episode of Discover Harmony Florida. I'm Kristen McCary, and I'm here with your host,
Janine Corcoran, broker for the Corcoran Connection.
Awesome. And so we did this last month. We talked about the September statistics in the housing market in Harmony. So tell me what happened in October in Harmony, Florida.
So in October, we actually had only eight in Harmony that sold, and then there were 4 in Harmony West. I do bring that into the report. So that's not a lot of houses at all, and there were no condos or townhouses that sold. I know right now, I believe there's one pending, or maybe 2, but there's none that have sold, which is interesting. So we had 5 resales that sold. The average price per square foot was $157.54, and then out of our custom homes, we had 2 that sold, and that actually the price per square foot brought it down because one of them was a little bit smaller and sold less, and it came down to $187.02. They were hovering around $200 a square foot there for a bit.
Right. And so do you think that what do you think that says about the market overall? Because I think it's more due to a lack of inventory. I think like pretty much everything that listed sold. It was just a matter of not having anything listed.
And so I looked at last year. Remember, we were in COVID last year. And so I'm looking at last year, and out of all of them, we had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, actually 8. 8 in Harmony sold last year in 2020,
so it's the same.
and 1 in Harmony. Yeah. So which is interesting. But get this. So the let's see, in resales, the average price per square foot last year in 2020 was $141.89, and this year it's $157.54.
Wow.
And the lakes jumped up quite a bit. The lakes in 2020 was $145.53 a square foot. Now it's $187.
Right. Wow.
That's a big jump.
Yep. I'd be curious to dig into it and see what really impacted that. And, I know we talk about price per square foot because it's a really cool statistic, but really doesn't mean a whole lot.
Well, I find that the regular consumer, the folks that own the houses, use that all the time. And it's interesting because even though an appraiser does use it to make an adjustment, right, they don't use it ever on their comps, just saying, this one house sold and this is a price per square foot.
Right.
But they only use that price per square foot when they're adjusting the comps, not the subject property, to come up with the adjustment on like a 1,600 square foot house versus an 1,800.
Right.
So they do use that, but they never refer to it. And I get that all the time from appraisers who say, what is it with you and, you realtors who, use that price per square foot? And I said, I think the consumers have just made us, have to know that fact. So it's interesting.
It's a cool number to throw out. Like I remember when I sold the house on the corner at Cupseed, and at the time it was the highest price per square foot in like the historic, Harmony section. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's something to boast about. But in reality, there's so many things that go into pricing a home, which is why it's, so important to have somebody who knows the market and who knows the area to take a look at your house, because so many things can influence what you can sell your house for. So while you're, maybe your neighbor can sell a custom home for $200 a square foot, maybe yours is $175 or vice versa, so there's so many things to take into consideration.
And what do you think today, and this is just an opinion, what do you think today, if a person that owns a house was going to renovate, or what would be the area that you would renovate most?
Oh, well, I wouldn't renovate anything unless you're looking to stay in the home. Because you should renovate it to enjoy it and not renovate it to sell it because you're not getting anything back. Yeah. You're not going to get dollar for dollar back on what you get.
That's always a great question. So I get a lot of phone calls. People say, oh, I want to pay off my CDD, because in Harmony there's an extra tax that pays for the amenities. And I'll say, the first question I say is, well, are you planning on staying in your house for a while? And if they say, well, no, I was planning on selling in another year and I thought that would be a good thing, I said, oh, heck no. Right. Maybe, update your flooring or something like that,
Something that you'll enjoy more. Yeah. I mean, like, listen, if your carpet has you can clearly see where the traffic patterns are, replace the carpet.
Exactly. That's a good thing to do.
Is your paint, can you tell where the furniture's been because it's so sun bleached everywhere else? might be time to paint. Like, those sorts of things, to do those sorts of things. I think, for me, I think the number one room in my house that I would update would be the kitchen. And I think, again, that's for me personally, like, I want to enjoy my kitchen. And I think you can't go wrong with like refreshing the appliances and all that kind of good stuff. Otherwise,
but don't do it before you're going to sell.
No, because
the price of everything.
Well, the price of everything, but then, okay, so now I go out and I pick white cabinets and gold countertops, and somebody doesn't like white cabinets and gold countertops, whereas they'd rather come in and just do the renovations themselves. So, I definitely think that if you're going to do something, do it to enjoy it. But I feel like there was a statistic you were going to throw in there that you get something now, or just general
No, I was just, it's funny that you say that, because we had a contractor come in this morning to look at our house kitchen. And the big thing that we kept going back and forth with was, just buy a bigger house with a new kitchen. But, I love the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think renovating is fun.
I do too. And everything is yours, because then you go out and you look for a new house, right? And maybe there's, maybe you love the kitchen, but you don't really love the master bathroom. Or, so there's always something that you're going to want to change. So you might as well, if you're happy in the place that you're in, invest the money in it.
Especially if you love your neighbors, and I love my neighbors.
You can't pick that. You can't change that. That's so hard.
I mean, it would be nice. Like, you get caught up in that, wouldn't it be nice to have a big house? But then I think about cleaning it, or, hiring a cleaning lady, so now you're triple the price. And right. I don't know. I came from the market, as you did too, way back when the market tanked and lost my house. You know what I mean? Right. So that's a fresh wound that doesn't go away. So I am conservative when it comes to
right.
I am. I'm exactly. Just, I'm not quick to get another mortgage,
right.
and get a bigger house just because.
And honestly, the only other two things that I could think to upgrade, a couple things. If I had an older home, so, some of the houses in Harmony, they're not old by any standards, really. But, if it was built in 04, 05, I might consider, A, new roof, B, new windows, or C, if it hasn't been replaced recently, a new air conditioning unit, because that dramatically saves on your heating and cooling costs. And when you get into the, summer months where you have a lot of hot days, those energy efficiencies could really, really help. So I think I guess I'm more frugal. Am I? Like, I'm thinking about let me upgrade something that's going to save me money.
You think you're frugal?
I'm not going to but yeah, so that's kind of what I.
Yeah, and even something that we did in our house in 2004 is we put extra insulation in our attic.
Right.
And that, before we had the new AC, drastically reduced our bill. And that was because we actually had our vents was starting to sweat.
Right.
Remember you thought I had dirt on my vent?
Yeah.
And then you were like, what's going on? And then it was actually from the moisture, because the AC, the attic insulation was not covering where the AC was, because it kind of not melted away, but I guess just wears down
over time.
After time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have a cold house, cold air coming through the vent, and then you have no AC insulation around it. So what's going to happen? Cold and hot?
Right.
It starts to sweat.
Right.
And that's what was happening. So that made us, okay, well, let's put insulation in the attic. It's never ending. So
right. Absolutely.
I'm almost there. It's almost completely finished.
Well, then
new roof, new AC, new hot water heater.
Listen, you redid the guest bath. I have a feeling the next one will be the master bath. We haven't touched that one yet, have you?
He came for that too today.
Yeah, did he? I told you. I knew it. I knew it. Those are the last two rooms,
Well, and I had a friend who's a designer, and she's really good at asking the right questions. Always ask questions. She was asking me, well, just kind of. She says, husband's over here, you're over here with your design. We got to figure out something here.
Right.
And so she brought a lot of samples today, and then just asked a lot of questions, and it was kind of good, because it eliminated some things. I said, I hate this. And she's like, okay.
Well, that's a no. That's a hard no.
But to sit and to tell someone what kind of kitchen you want, it is hard.
Right. Oh, I can't even imagine.
It's hard to say.
I know.
Well, I picture this. And
Quentin's not invited when I have that conversation. Because we are, just like you, I feel like we're on total opposite end of the spectrum.
Well, it's interesting because we're making a built-in bar area where a television is right now. And we were showing different concepts to Bill, and he was agreeable with all of them. And I looked at Suzanne. I said, "Did you give him something?"
Right.
I said, "You witnessed this conversation because."
Right. He was on board with it all.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's interesting. And what's interesting is having a designer is, like she was telling me, so this is interesting for you folks out there. She said to me, I love white. I've always loved white. I think the first kitchen I had when I moved to Florida was white. And it's a Florida thing.
Yeah.
She said, but she can tell the trends that are happening and what's coming out of style ahead of time just by, because this is what she does. Like she follows the designers and she sees, and she says, even though your uppers can be white, white's not in. She's like, you love white, but so we kind of compromised. I said, well, what about white and do the two-tone? Can't do gray because the house has a lot of browns.
Right.
It's hard.
It is hard. It
And
is.
then
hard.
it's like, well, do you change all your floors? I was like, I don't want these are wood floors. I don't want to change all the floors. You know what I
No.
mean? So it's just trying to find that happy compromise. So we got off track, but on the market update.
Well, listen,
but-
this is all about housing, right? How to
Yeah,
make
it
your
is
house
about
more
housing.
attractive. So I think that's definitely all great info. And people always, I feel like a lot of people ask that. Well, I'm thinking of selling my house. What should I do?
Oh, exactly. Hey, first thing you do is call us because the part I love is coming in. As interesting as I just said, it's hard for me in my own house. I can go walk into someone's house, and prior to Kristen taking the photos, I mean, I literally walk through and say, do this, do this, do this. And then when we come for the photos, I usually do a quick walkthrough and make sure everything has been done. Most sellers, 99.9% of the sellers listen to me. Every now and then I walk in and anything I said, I said, oh, you didn't move well, I like it here. I said, okay then.
That's where it's going to be.
That's where it's going to stay. And everything, all the advice I give is through, I always tell them, it's through the camera lens. Even though I'm not looking through the camera lens, I know what you're looking for.
Right.
I always say sleek, nice,
Clean.
one item on the dresser, you know what I mean? Just
Well, and it's funny because, I came from a new home builder and it was so hard for people to purchase homes from a floor plan, right? But it's also hard for them to go into a house that that it's not their stuff, or if it has too much stuff, and see through it. They just can't picture themselves living there if you're living there. And so I always joke when, because Janine will often leave me, at the houses to finish up and whatever. And so I'm getting ready to leave. And I said, okay, you can put some things back now because it'd be so much easier if you just didn't live here at all when you sold it. But seriously though, buyers do have a hard time sometimes visualizing themselves in a space when other people's personal items are out there. So that's why we go with the minimalist look, because it allows buyers to see themselves living there.
absolutely.
So-
yeah. And what's interesting is when I tell sellers, oh, you can put your throw rugs back because we get rid of the throw rugs. But
Right.
once the pictures you live, you have that cushiony mat by the sink and whatnot. But I'm always like, do not put any shampoo or soap back in your shower. I don't know why that creeps me out.
It grosses people out. I don't know. I mean, shower, you're getting clean in there, but also I don't know what it is. I'm with you.
I'm just like, you just can't. And the toothbrushes definitely don't.
Right.
Yeah, it's just something. It's not even like they're dirty. You know what
No.
I mean? And you could have really expensive shampoo and nice soap or something. But buyers, it would just picture yourself if you walk into a model home from the builder and one of the employees took a shower and left all this stuff there. That's the kind of
Right.
negativity it gives.
Right.
I don't know why. It does for me too. I get like,
I know.
okay, like, can you hide just half, your bar soap that's like little.
Half used.
You know what I mean? I don't know what it is.
Or the
but-
wet loofah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about it. I
it's just like, no,
can't.
get rid
Put it
of all
away.
that. Just your typical, you wouldn't leave dirty dishes in your sink.
Right.
When buyers come, don't
Right.
leave, dirty dishes, soaps or whatever.
I feel like we should do a whole podcast episode on how to prepare your house for listing, because
Oh, yeah,
that'd
that would be-
we have so
yeah.
many tips for you for that.
That would be so cool. I do have stats here from the county for October. So this came from our association. So 980. This is all around the county sold this October, and then compared to last October, 880. So it's about the same. I mean,
Right.
a little
It's
bit of a
actually up a
change.
little bit.
Yeah. And then the median sales price was this year 330. Last year it was 260. That's a over 26% change.
Wow, that's
so
huge.
so all of the change in the equity and everything is coming like right now. That's what people don't realize. Because I get some people that say, well, maybe if I wait in a couple of years, it'll go up even more. I was like, no, like this has been the biggest increase. Now is your time.
Right.
The hardest thing, of course, if you're staying in the area, where do you go?
Right.
You get temporary rent. You do that. If you're going out of the area, it doesn't matter because you're taking your money out and, you know, you have to do with it what you do when you leave. But as far as staying in the area, that's a little bit of a difficult one that we always try to, you know, work through that, you know,
Yep.
see what other choices we have. Some people move in with families. Some people have been doing short-term rentals. Some people do a year rental and say, well, let's see what the market does. I have my money out of the bank. I'm going to put it in, get some kind of interest, not much, because you could only have it in there for so long. But
Right.
yeah, it's interesting. You know, let's see what other stats I have. So that was overall on all properties, just on your single-family homes. This October 2021 was 652 homes compared to 621. So let's see the median sales price on a single-family home this year: $379, $330. Last year, $285. That increase was 33%.
That's literally almost $100,000 in equity.
That's
incredible. I mean, it's a huge.
Now, this has changed. So last year in single-family homes, the month supply, again, it's seller's market, was only 2.5 months. This past October, 1.1 month. So for those of you who don't understand what that means when you say a month's supply, what it means is if everything stopped today, no houses were put on the market, that's it. It's over for whatever reason. It would take us 1.1 month to get through the inventory, and we'd have no houses for sale. Isn't that nuts? This is like, wow, like we've been hovering under 6 months for a long time, but a healthy market is just like 5 or 6 months at least, where it's a little bit more even.
Or it's balanced.
Balanced. And then with COVID and short supply of windows, and it's changing. It's ever changing. Whatever's, then I heard it was trusses, it's just...
Always something.
Always something.
Yeah.
But,
and that's crazy because, I'd be curious to see how long we've been sitting in this seller's market. I mean, it's been quite a bit time. I mean, as evidenced by the fact that the median sales price went up over like almost 100,000.
Yeah. And who would ever thought that COVID would
do that?
Help that.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean,
that.
Yep.
No one saw it coming. And according to all the experts, it's not going away anytime soon, anywhere from a year to a year and a half. Not necessarily always what goes up must come down, but I feel like it's like the stock market. Like it'll go up, level off, and then, could dip a little, but then it will go up a little bit more. You know what I mean? So when you look at overall, it's always climbing.
Right.
But,
right.
And money's cheap now.
Right.
Inflation's so high.
Right.
To borrow.
So.
Borrow money.
Yep. Well,
I had a woman that was going to pay cash for her house, and she said, "Well, what would you do? Would you, I'm like, well, it's not my money." Right. I said, "But money's really, really cheap right now. So I would look at, okay, if you're buying a $300,000 house in cash, and you can get a loan, let's say putting 20% down, no extra PMI or anything." I said, "What can you do with that extra money, and how much interest would you get on it over, even if you put it away for 5 or 10 years, versus if you're getting your mortgage so low? Like just say your mortgage is 3%.
Right.
But can you get more on your money than 3% someplace else, like stock market, mutual funds, or whatever it is?
Right.
Well, then it makes sense. Borrow the money low and put the rest in.
Right.
Unless you talk to Dave Ramsey.
Right.
Which I love.
Don't talk to Dave.
That would be in a lot of trouble. But anyway.
Yeah. But that's crazy, yeah. So a lot of great things happening in Harmony. I was actually kind of surprised to hear that the numbers were the same as they were last October.
Me too.
But I wonder if that's when our inventory started to slow down.
Well, next month what I should do is pull the year before. Because I have. So just for those of you who don't know, you can go on our website, thecorcoranconnection.com, and then just look at the communities and say Harmony. And once you hit there, you'll have an option for the Harmony reports. They go back as far as, I think, 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So they're in there for the year. You can go back the year and see what happened. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Great numbers to dig into. So that's awesome. Well, if you guys ever have any questions, you know where to reach us at thecorcoranconnection.com. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Please be sure to give us a 5-star review or thumbs up, leave us a comment, whatever you, wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love the support. You can find us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. These are on YouTube if you're not watching them there. So thanks so much for joining us. And
yes, thank you.
We will see you next time.